As New York pushes to move away from fossil fuels, battery energy storage systems have become a critical part of the effort to modernize the grid. NYC currently relies on peaker plants, a highly polluting type of power plant located almost exclusively in what New York State defines as disadvantaged communities. On paper, battery energy storage systems present a cleaner alternative to peaker plants, but the execution of this transition has sparked outrage citywide. NYC has given the green light for companies like 9 Energy to build battery energy storage systems as close as 10 feet to residents' homes, leaving communities like Addisleigh Park to bear the risk of fires or malfunctions that have hit other areas. While 9 has successfully erected BESS facilities in other communities, Addisleigh Park has been able to resist. To fully understand Addisleigh's resistance, though, you must first understand the historical legacy of the community itself.
My great-great-granddaddy. This is my grandfather. At that time, there was great pride in everyone that you met. And when you walk through these streets, they say hello and how you have a special connection with what's here.
I used to spend a lot of time going through here, going to school, but I also have fond memories of coming here and being able to swim in Count Basie's swimming pool.
James Brown would open up his house on Sundays, but you had to take your shoes off because he had all white carpeting. So there was that, but you didn't feel like they were far away from you. You had access to everyone who lived here.
Much of the tension between 9 and the community can be traced back to how their relationship began. Addisleigh Park residents say that they were blindsided by the facility's arrival to the area, stating that by the time they learned about it, 9 had already secured a lease. Efforts by the community to pitch nearby locations that were at a safe distance from homes were to no avail. It was already too late.
But the opinions are going to be mine totally. So when I first heard about battery storage units, it was about 2 years ago, and it came in with the city of Yes.
We are decarbonizing our building and transportation sectors to reach our goal of carbon neutrality by 2050. My administration just began the public review process for our city of Yes for carbon neutrality. These changes will transform our city for the better.
It did not allow for the community boards, anybody to talk about it. It was considered as of right. So they could just put these things up in our neighborhood with no consideration and no conversation. So once we heard about it, we got angry.
But no, y'all sitting at tables, and what we worried about, when you got some of these communities worried about stepping on your toe, y'all put your foot up our ass. Why we worried about stepping on their toe when they putting our foot up their mama behind?
We cherish our neighborhood. We are not relics where we don't understand environmental upgrade.
We just against the placement, the proximity to our homes. This is not an unreasonable ask.
We're not going to take their word. That's a business. They're trying to make money.
Just about every Saturday during the summer, members of the Addisleigh Park Civic Organization in Southeast Queens and residents have gathered outside of this gate to protest the construction of a new energy project here. The vacant lot on the corner of Linden Boulevard and 180th Street in St. Albans, which is zoned for commercial use, is where the company 9.
At the front lines of this issue has been the Southeast Queens Residents Environmental Justice Coalition. The grassroots organization has advocated for the community throughout the years on issues ranging from flooding to air quality, waste management, and more. The standoff with 9 and battery energy storage is far from its first battle.
What we have found is that there is not enough attention in this community to environmental hazards and environmental racism. You know, people are dealing with everyday issues of life, and in the meanwhile, our environment is suffering from that. Any kind of industry that other areas did not want, they would settle in Jamaica. We have waste transfer stations where commercial trucks gather garbage from all over the city and bring them here, and those facilities are right across the street from homes. In the summer, if you go down Liberty Avenue, you have to roll up your windows because of the smell.
To many, battery energy storage systems have presented yet another example of unwanted industry in the community. But here's where things get complicated. The peaker plants that battery energy storage systems are replacing have long been considered to be an environmental hazard, both on a local level and for the climate as a whole. In communities like the South Bronx, for example, the high concentration of peaker plants helped to get the name Asthma Alley, as almost 20% of its children have been diagnosed with asthma, amongst the highest rates in the country. Almost 100% of New York's peaker plants are in disadvantaged communities. According to 9 Energy, batteries will help retire peaker plants for good. Guess we have to do this on our own. Here's some context about battery energy storage and 9 Energy based off of our conversations with 9 When New York experiences a heat wave, more people crank up their AC, which starts to overwhelm our power grid, thus causing peaker plants to kick in and deal with the extra demand. Peaker plants release pollutants into the air, which speeds up climate change, causing more heat waves, and the cycle continues. Battery energy storage helps relieve the grid by charging during non-peak times like at night to deliver power when demand is the highest. While New York State has experienced BESS fires, 9 Energy says none of these fires have taken place in NYC. They've attributed this to the fact that the FDNY has the strictest standards for what they approve in NYC. Their safety measures include heat and flame detection cameras, an automatic sprinkler system, and rigorous testing, which includes setting the system itself on fire to test that the fire remains localized. Several representatives of BESS and FDNY have gone public, stating that they would feel comfortable living next to a battery energy storage site due to the strong regulations and safety measures taken. But for communities like Addisleigh, the situation is less hypothetical and more reality. Residents have made it quite clear. They feel unsafe, and while acknowledging the need to modernize the grid, the facility should still be within a reasonable distance from homes. As for whether 9 assurances help residents sleep at night, the activists were clear in their response.
I don't care, and I think it's bullshit. I don't believe these statistics, as it has caught on fire before in other parts of the country.
New tonight at 11, they can catch fire, releasing deadly fumes. These battery energy storage facilities help support the power grid, but there is risk involved. Now, one could be approved in a residential neighborhood.
When they burn, the fire department has as a policy to not put them out. They're too dangerous to put out.
It's impossible to put the fire out. They have to burn out.
They blow up in other states. They've blown up upstate. But they keep assuring us that they're safe. However, when we chat with fire department people, they're like, we don't know how to fix that. That's not a good idea, but they won't say it on camera.
At no rate has the fire department been trained under these lithium facility conditions. This would take years for that type of training. And as you know what I know, New York City is not gonna pay money for them to go to any kind of training for that specific usage. So how safe is it when fire department cannot handle it?
If we're going to do anything to cope with the climate crisis, we have to stop fossil fuels and shift into renewables. We need battery storage to keep the grid working. But the energy transition has to be seen as something that can empower communities in both senses of the term, right? Not something that's going to lead to yet another wave of destructive infrastructure in communities.
Ashley Dawson is a member of the Public Power NY campaign, which believes in a just transition to renewable energy. This would mean publicly owned energy versus the current privatized corporate structure. As his work has shown, the people's fight for public power versus profit has dated all the way back to the Great Depression.
So we've got to shut down that polluting infrastructure and shift onto renewable. But then there's a complicated question, right? Where are these battery energy storage systems actually going? We live in a capitalist society. The idea that we're just going to transition away from polluting fossil fuels onto renewables, but within a capitalist system, that's going to lead to all kinds of injustices.
The shift to renewable energy has created a lucrative new asset class for investors, as battery energy storage is en route to becoming a central pillar of the global power infrastructure. In other words, a lot of money is being made from the transition to batteries. As a leading developer of community-scale battery energy storage systems, 9 Dot Energy has raised over $1 billion to modernize NYC's urban electric grid. But this financialization of the grid can turn a blind eye to the interests of communities like Addisleigh. Perhaps the clearest example of this is an ongoing lawsuit between 9 Dot and the homeowners next door.
The way we found out what 9 Dot was planning to do with this property is that my tenant called me one day and said, "Yasmin, the whole house is shaking." When we did come, we found out what they were doing was taking out the tanks, because that used to be a gas station, and they were taking out the gas tanks that were underground, but they were dropping these huge boulders, and they had nothing monitoring the vibration on my house. They made it sound like it was all going to be great. But as we did more research, we found out that this was something that could be potentially dangerous. They kept contacting us. They said that they would need to use our property in order to remove the building that was there for the gas station. Over time, they just kept calling us and texting us and offering us more and more money. And by then, we had realized that this was not something that we wanted, because it was going to totally devalue our property, as well as be a problem for fire insurance and hazard insurance. They offered us up to $25,000. They decided that, well, if you will not accept this $25,000, then we will have to sue you to have access to your property. They tried to intimidate us by actually filing a lawsuit against us in Queens Supreme Court. So they took us to court, and we decided with Addisleigh Park to countersue to stop them from building this thing right in our backyard, in our community.
As the lawsuit remains pending, the future hangs in the balance in Addisleigh Park. In other communities across the city, though, battery energy storage systems have continued being built despite the resistance. There are projected to be hundreds of BESS facilities built out in New York in the next half-dozen years. The scale of this build-out has brought concern to Con Ed. The NY Energy Company is worried that as the number of BESSes grow, the amount of energy distributors plugging into the grid could overwhelm the system. BESS sources have responded, stating that Con Ed's real worry is that the model for charging customers is being flipped on its head. Meanwhile, a local state senator is pushing for legislation that could change everything.
I only learned about the battery energy storage facilities after they had been cited, but unfortunately, because of the way the zoning laws are cited, and new city of yes, or city of mess that I call it, operators are not obligated to inform elected officials. This particular operator, 9 Dot, never bothered to reach out to us in a formal manner. That site was a auto repair gas station back in the 50s. We closed it down. The community pushed hard to get it removed. Unfortunately, because of that zoning, it's cleared as an industrial use. And there are 2 sites that have been there operating as auto repair, auto body shops for decades. We've been trying to close down too, but the owners keep maintaining it. But I do have a bill, Senate Bill 7197B, that calls for making sure that anyone that's siting a facility reaches out to the community and making sure that the community is fully informed and consulted. We want to make sure that anywhere in the state, the whole city of mess was designed to prevent community input, but we feel that that's a stone too far.
We really have to speed up the energy transition, but we need to make sure that communities aren't sacrificed.
The community was absolutely blindsided. We feel that had they spoken to us sooner, we could have worked with them to find a better site.
All we're complaining about is the proximity to homes. We fight here because we know if it's here today, it'll be right by my house tomorrow. We feel unsafe. The function of government is to protect the citizens. We do not feel protected.
It's important to note that the fear of fire is not the community's only concern. Locals have also discussed the financial implications of having BESS facilities next door, including the devaluing of their homes and the spike in housing insurance that they're projected to face. Which leads to a larger question. With big business, gentrification, and affordability issues already shaking up the area, what will the future hold for the next generation of Addisleigh residents? Can the community once known as Black Hollywood East retain its magic for years to come? And if so, who will take on the fight?
I think the legacy and the history of Addisleigh Park will always remain, but they're threats.
Is Addisleigh Park under threat? Yes. And not just from industry or developments, it's from ourselves. We have to continually build and create this neighborhood. It was started for us, and we have to maintain it and take it further. Are we being erased? Yes, ma'am. It's very clear. So many people have moved away from here. If you don't pay attention, if you don't fight, you're going to get what you get. You're not going to have the Black excellence. You're not going to have it all. It takes effort. It takes effort. We have lots of new children growing up here, new babies, and the parents want to have a neighborhood that they imagined it to be or have lived here and want what their parents have. But it's going to take effort.